Peace. What is up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to watch this video. Today we have a somber topic, and it is the subject of September 11th, 2001, and where we are now exactly 15 years later. A lot of people have been affected by this moment in our history, especially if you were alive during this time. What most people are unaware of is the real chain of events that terrorist attack led to, as well as who the real terrorists were. Most people at this point who consider themselves to be awake understand that the real terrorists are domestic and not abroad. And what does that even mean for the safety of what we call our country and what we call our neighbors and our family? But here's the real truth. This whole situation was designed to get you to not be able to trust your brother and your neighbor. The whole experiment, the real terrorist attack that happened, is on your sense of safety and on your willingness to acknowledge love or fear. And what do you actually align yourself with? Do you believe that you're in a reality run and ruled by fear, and that any moment fear could overtake you and overwhelm you? Or do you live in a moment and in a world full of love and unity and harmony, and at any moment that love could overtake you? It's really up to you and which version of reality you want to manifest for yourself, because you are the creator of your reality. And these people that have attempted to hijack your reality have done so through fear, terror, and apparently blood sacrifice. Do I believe in this? No. I do not believe that this is a way that human beings should be handling themselves. But I am observing in the world that there are human beings that are handling themselves this way. So what leads to this type of mental dysfunction, this type of extreme ego identification, where you forget that you and your brother are one in the same, to the point where you can kill any person or any person you may consider a brother, or even any person you don't consider a brother, just another human being? How is it that a human being could become so comfortable with the ideas of death and killing another human being? It's a dark and deep rabbit hole, my friend, and it'll go and go and go and go and go. But I'm gonna focus on the one point of the conversation where it comes back to the light and the real nature of the universe at large. What we're talking about today is the shadow, and the shadow is the neglected or unloved element of you, yourself. And so since society is a reflection of you, and society is a reflection of me, in fact, it's the merging of my consciousness and your consciousness, and how we reflect one another, is that we are obviously afraid of one another. But why should we be? Why should we be afraid of one another? There is nothing to fear inside of you, because there is nothing to fear inside of me. When I recognize that I am made of the pure energy called love, I can no longer embody a fearful frequency. Fear may still exist around me for a certain period of time while it is being purged from my reality. But fear no longer exists within me, within my consciousness. And that is a very key, pivotal moment along my path, where I started to realize that fear and I are literally two opposite energies, not in the sense of duality, but in the sense of, in the spectrum of the universe, fear and I cannot coexist at the same time. Only fear or love can exist in any given moment. And if you recognize that you are in one moment for eternity, then how you spend that one moment determines what eternity looks like for you. So, one thing I was talking with a friend of mine about last night is the idea that what I love about Christianity is that it introduces us to our Christ mind, our Christ brother, and the real Savior within, and our real connection with God. One thing I am confused with about how modern Christians teach is that they say that heaven is actually a place you must die to go be in. And it separates all the biblical ideas of heaven from this life into the afterlife. It separates them from this life into the afterlife. And that right there is a misteaching of the Bible itself. You are in eternity right now. And if the definition of heaven is eternity and the remembrance of your eternal nature, if you die and discover you are eternal, then you have just merged with the one moment that has been existing the whole time. But if you are alive and you recognize that you are eternal, then you have merged with your real identity while still in the body. So in essence, you don't need to die in order to remember that you are eternal. And so on that level, if you can recognize that eternity cannot be separated from anything, in essence, eternity cannot be separated from right now to be said that it can only happen in the afterlife. How is it possible that eternity is happening only in the afterlife and not here? How can we transition from a non-eternal state into an eternal state? How is that even possible? It's not. It's not possible. You're eternal right now. So you can't transition into being eternal. You can only remember that you are. So why am I even bringing all of this up? I'm bringing it up because we have been indoctrinated, you and I. We have been led to believe things about 9/11 that are not true. And we have been led to make conclusions about things that have no factual conclusions. There's been a lot of pain and disappointment for me in my journey, going through the knowledge of what happened for real with the 9/11 situation. And it brought up a lot of anger, it brought up a lot of bitter feelings, it brought up a lot of confusion, a lot of fear. And ultimately I got to a point on my path where I had to let that go, because it doesn't serve my greatest purpose. To harbor that amount of fear and anxiety and negative energy is not healthy for a consciousness that is elevating itself. So at a certain point I had to purge it, but I also had to recognize it first, because along this path of awakening, what I'm coming to understand is that it's not just about seeing, how do I word it? It's not just about seeing the light, but it's about recognizing that where the light is shining, sometimes it can create shadows that then must be addressed, because the shadows are ultimately not real. And so if you remember that the object that is shining the light is the real reality, not the shadow itself, then you can really make a change. But as long as you believe that shadows are real and that light has no power, then you are essentially doomed within your own consciousness, because you're forgetting that you, the spirit within, have created everything you see outside of you. So if you are upset by what you see outside of you, go within yourself to change it. And this is how I changed it for me and in my reality, is I have chosen to forgive those that have committed this horrible, 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 horrible act. I have chosen in my heart of hearts to let go of the pain that they inflicted on my brothers and sisters who died on that day. I have chosen to forgive these people simply because it is of my best interest to do so. As an elevating consciousness, it's in my best interest to forgive those that harm me, because I see them as myself. And though I do not logically understand that, I do intuitively understand that, and therefore I act as such. So I choose to forgive my brothers that have harmed me and my other brothers, because we are all one and the same, and the only way that we can actually make change on this planet is if we do come together in unity and in harmony. And so if I stand here and say, because I was attacked, I now have the right to attack, I only perpetuate war, and I surrender. I do not perpetuate war. I perpetuate peace. I surrender to a higher vibration, and I surrender to a higher level of peace, and therefore a higher level of reality. Because peace is a dimension above fear, not beneath it. Peace is a dimension of strength, not weakness. And I have found that forgiving those that harm me and my brothers is the only plan of action that has really brought me peace in my reality. So I do not wish to attack anyone or anything, not with my mind and not with my body. I wish to extend peace to those beings that are clearly so out of harmony with themselves and their universe that they have forgotten that we are one. And to harm me is to really only harm themselves. So I offer those that understand me and those that don't understand me the same amount of peace and openness, because we are one and the same. Whether you understand it or not, it is a truth about reality. So I surrender all thoughts of retaliation and bitterness and resentment towards any and all people involved with September 11th, 2001. And 15 years later, on September 11th, 2016, the day on which I'm making this video, we have been able to stay on course with the peaceful revolution. All the end time predictions of these dark entities were predicting that by 2012 the plan would be in place. That if they themselves recognized if they did not have the plan in place by 2012, that they would begin to lose the battle. The battle for what? The battle for your freedom, for your consciousness, for your ability to remember the spirit within, above some allegiance to some corporation. You see what I mean? So thank God, in a way, for this horrible situation that these negative entities created, because they outed themselves. They showed who they were in the process. And now we have the ability not to damage these entities that have revealed themselves to us, but to offer them something that they know nothing about, which is unconditional love. We will strip them of their power so they may not harm another human being, but we will show them unconditional love. We will not show them more harm, and we will certainly not reciprocate the harm that they have shown us, because we are one and the same. Whether there is an apparent difference between the two of us physically or mentally, we are both the same. So this is what I choose to remember every 9/11, is the ideas of forgiveness. And now every time I see the numbers 911, I think forgive. If there is an emergency in your life, which the numbers 911 seem to trigger, then what are emergencies? They are situations that appear to be catastrophic, to shake you awake to a certain thing that you are unconscious to, so that you may bring healing and forgiveness to that part of your consciousness. And so here I offer all entities that need forgiveness, all entities that are wrestling with such a debate of do I forgive or do I not forgive. I just encourage you to go within your heart and ask yourself, what is the correct form of action in order to bring more peace upon this planet? That's what I came here to do. I came into this planet to bring more peace. And here I am creating a video to create more peace. Here I am living in my reality, choosing how I want to interact with this whole story. And I choose peace. And there are many, many, many more like me. And I now have the courage to put my voice out there. So here it is. I choose peace, I choose forgiveness. And every time I see those numbers, I think, now is the perfect time to forgive. Thanks for watching. Please visit the website at IamOnenO.com. Let's stay in touch, and until I see you again along the path, oneness in sound, I am OnenO. Peace.